never know. All right, cool. Well, let's get started. I am Cory Morris with Morris Better Bookkeeping. I'm out of Kearney, Nebraska, virtual bookkeeper. So I work a lot in QuickBooks Online. This is kind of an introductory webinar. We're going to go through very, very basic stuff. If there's something specific that you're looking for, if you throw that up in the chat, I would sure appreciate it. I will do my best to watch it and not just ramble. And I'll try to go slow. One of the things with financials, with things like this, is it's very private. What your guys' things are very private. And so there's a lot of questions that maybe don't get answered just because, or don't get asked because of that privacy. I will put up in the, I'll put in the chat my contact. If there's additional questions afterwards, you can feel free to get a hold of me. I'll just type that real quick. All right, so there's my contact information in the chat if you guys want it. Looking forward to this. It could be really short if everybody just knows what we're doing, and it might go longer if there's a lot of questions. So please feel free to ask questions. So I'm going off the assumption that you have just set up a QuickBooks Online account, and that's as far as it went. And so you need to get the rest of it set up. So you want to be here on your home page. And again, I'm going to try to go slow, but since I can't see what you guys are doing, if you need me to slow down, just throw that in the chat and I will do my best. So assuming here on the home page, just kind of give you a quick overview of QuickBooks Online. What you have here is the name of your company. You can also add a logo here in the upper left. The nice thing about adding a logo is that, okay, so it doesn't have a QuickBooks Online. The nice thing about having a logo is you can then pull it through on your invoices. You can pull it through on anything that you're sending out, your reports. It just looks really nice. So adding a logo here is great. Then QuickBooks Online will walk you through how to set up a bunch of random stuff. Some of it's useful, some of it's not. And here we have your bank accounts and what balances they have. Versus how many transactions need to be reviewed. So this one's interesting. The bank balance says negative $3,600. QuickBooks says it's positive $1,200. The reason you have that discrepancy is because we have 25 transactions that need to be reviewed. So this kind of gives you a nice view really quick of where are my accounts at, and over time can give you a view on your business. So we're going to get set up here. You'll come up here when you're first starting out, come up here to the gear icon in the upper right, click on that. And the big thing you want to do is you want to come here to account and settings. Okay. So under your company, accounts and settings. So we'll click that open. Kicked me out again. I was on too early apparently, and QuickBooks got confused. Let me stop sharing here for a moment while I get logged back in. Oh. Okay, so let's try that again. Okay, so now we're back here. This is a sample company. Come up here, we're gonna go to accounts and settings. Okay, so we click here, you got your company name. This is where the company's name you'll put, legal name. So this would be, you would change that if, so you've got your company name versus the legal name. The only reason you would have it different is if you've got a DBA, you're doing business as something else, those kinds of things. But if it's the same, you don't have to change anything. Your employment, your Employer identification number or your social security number can go in there. You can put in here your tax forms, what exactly you're going to be filing. So if you're an LLC, this is generally the one that you need as a limited liability company, but you would want to for sure talk with your accountant on that, how you're going to file. Okay. So you can put that in there. You can put in your industry, and then QuickBooks can give you some help and show you how you're benchmarking against others in your industry. It can change your chart of accounts. It's good to know you got that in there. You can put in your company contact information as well as your address. And this is also really good because then when it automatically, you can put it on your invoices, you can put it on your sales receipts, and you can track taxes significantly easier if those things are filled out. So coming to this page, and again, this is just under accounts and settings. You can see, depending on your plan, how many users you can have, how many charts, how many categories you can have, how many accounts you can have in your chart of accounts, and then your sales information. All of this is customizable right here, and it'll flow through the rest of QuickBooks. So do you have preferred invoice terms? Do you have shipping charges that you want to add? Do you have service dates, or do you want to be able to give people discounts? If you're in construction, and again, I don't know what everybody is involved in. So if you are a construction company or a company where you got to take a deposit, you want to be able to turn that on, and then that will apply towards invoices. Tips, gratuity if you're in a restaurant business. Okay, so then we've got products and services. You can add a lot to that, changing quantity and things. That's a little bit farther beyond where we're going. Adding late fees or progress invoicing. Again, if you're doing a project over time, commercial, that one would be important for you to explore. I'm not going into these things in detail. If there are things that you would like us to share in future webinars, put it in the chat, put it in the questions and answers so that I know what's useful for you guys. I'm kind of firing blind here. So, and we're staying really, really a high level. You can have reminders automatically reminding people, and statements and such. Okay, so expenses, also a little more highly technical than you probably need at the beginning. Your company type tax form, that'll pull from the front. Oh, great. Account numbers. So when we pull up the chart of accounts, there's no numbers. If you've ever seen other charts of accounts, a lot of times they have numbers for everything, and you can download that online. It's totally irrelevant. The account numbers don't matter. All that allows you to do is reorganize things. So don't worry if you don't want to do it. It's okay. Okay. Let's see, anything else here that was kind of important? No, the rest of those will be, you don't need a chest, but understanding your tax form and understanding the account numbers, if you're looking for that, that's where that goes. All right, so now that we've gone through the company settings and how to set it up, and I don't have any questions, so we'll just kind of move on. We're going to start by reviewing our chart of accounts. So you'll come down here on the left side. This is your dashboard. This gives you everything that you need to know. If you're going to go to your banking area, your expenses area, sales, projects is a little bit more advanced. Payroll is probably more advanced. Reports is where all of your reports are, and we will look at that. Taxes shows you what you're going to have to owe. Mileage is for tracking your mileage. And then accounting is where we're going to look at your chart of accounts. So we're going to kind of go through all of this and explain what you see there. This new button allows you to create new entries, but it doesn't take you to those sections to look at what's already there. Okay. So we're going to come down here to accounting, chart of accounts. We're going to peek up under the hood. And we've got quite a few accounts here. We've got our checking account, that's a bank. Savings account, that's savings, right? Detail type. We've got accounts receivable, inventory, prepaid expenses, uncategorized asset, This can get as complicated as you want. You can have, for instance, we've got job materials here, decks and patios, fountains and garden lighting, plants and soil, sprinklers and drip systems. You can add all of that, you can add more, and you can add a lot less. It really goes to how much information do you need right now? Are you trying to track your deck and patio income versus your sprinklers and drip systems income? Which matters the most to your business? When you're just starting out, I would say you really need very little. Very simple categories should do just fine for you. So it's all here, and we're going to walk through creating one. I want to point out a couple things here before we create one. You've got your name of your account here. You've got the type of account, what it is, accounts payable, credit card, etc. The detail type, which just gets into a little bit more detail, okay? It just gets a little bit tighter. So there's a lot of things that are fixed assets. They're not, but not all vehicle expenses are going to be fixed assets. So it kind of helps you differentiate there. So you've got your QuickBooks balance. This shows you what's on that, in that category on QuickBooks. Okay, so the other thing I want to point out to you is the organization. It'll be easier. I'll show it later on the balance sheet. It's easier to look at it that way. So we're going to create a new account. And I kind of want to walk you through that. We're on the upper right. This green button is new. You can import your own. If you downloaded one from the internet that you really, really like, that's fine. You can totally do that. So click on new. We've got your account type. And it's really, most everything that you want is going to fit into this area. Okay, so we've got our accounts receivable, other current assets, which would be short-term loans that you've made to other people. That's an asset on your books. That's prepaid money, those kinds of things. Your bank accounts, fixed assets, other assets, accounts payable, credit cards, liabilities, equity, income, other income. So like tax returns type stuff. Tax refunds, that generally is going to be kind of in that other income area. Cost of goods sold, expenses, and then kind of other expenses. And you're going to look at that and you go, I don't really know what this is. So we're going to click on bank. The detail type, then we have what else could that be? Checking account, money market, is it cash? So cash is technically classified as a bank account. And I can get into that in a little bit. Savings, those kinds of things. If we change this to fixed assets, we've got depreciation, amortization, buildings, computers, copier, furniture, phones. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff here that you could have as a fixed asset. Some of these things you are not really fixed assets, okay? You don't want to go nuts on the fixed assets. Talk to your accountant about that. But then you've got these other assets that are hard to quantify. What I want you to notice, or what I want you to see, is that there is probably already a category here. For a lot of people first starting out with QuickBooks, they get overwhelmed. What do I even code these things as? This, if you just kind of play around in here, you'll start to see the things that matter to you and your business. So good practice is we're going to have a bank. This is going to be a checking account. We're going to call this the Great Bank. And then we're going to add a description, right? So we're going to call this the bank with account ending. Okay, that's how you would record that. So you want that description to be so clear that you know exactly what it's talking about. That happens a lot with fixed assets. Machinery and equipment. We can have a machinery and equipment category that is a vehicle. Let's see, we'll have this be copy presses, right? Big metal machine presses. And then generally it's better to start it off as a 0 and then add the things by purchasing them, so you don't start off, you don't duplicate entries. Okay, so we can have a machine press, and if we wanted to, we could create a new one that's the exact same fixed asset. Where is it? Machine equipment. And this is going to be, so we had those machinery press, the machine presses, and this is going to be forklifts. Okay. And you don't have to have a description on that. It's pretty obvious. And then we'll come down here. And so then we've got forklifts and we've got machine presses. Both are fixed assets. Both are machinery and equipment. It's totally okay to do that. Again, though, at the beginning, I would say it's a lot easier to put that together. Okay. So that is our chart of accounts. Does anybody have any questions up till now? I haven't seen anything pop through. Hoping people are still here. Yep, haven't lost anybody. Well, all right. So now we're going to go through and we're going to actually add bank accounts. I'm going to walk you guys through that. So we're going to click on banking. So here we've got our accounts, and it'll give you a tour and everything. So as you get into it, you can see that. We're going to start with creating an account. Okay, so if you come over here to the right, it says link account. This is great. This is my favorite thing about QuickBooks Online as opposed to QuickBooks Desktop. And it won't let me do it because this is a sample account. But you'll come up here and you'll click on link account. And here you'll just type in, it'll show up with a menu like if you use any budgeting software like Mint or these others, where you'll put in you'll type in the bank account and the username and the password, and you'll log in and it'll tie it together. Okay, so if you haven't done that, do that. It'll start pulling all of that information in, and then you get this, which is great. We've got 25 transactions that have been pulled in. That's why we have a difference in these two balances, and we can go through and categorize them. So we received money. We're going to just call this sales just for demonstration purposes. I'll kind of show you this. This is the feed. These transactions have not hit the books. This is kind of a purgatory or a waiting area where they sit here to know where they're going to be applied. So these do not show up against your books, but they do show up here. You can, so we're going to go through and I'll walk you through this process. It's really easy and makes it so much easier to get stuff right and to take a lot less time. If you get this down, you can do a lot of things really quick. Okay, so we're going to kind of come down here, and first we're going to look at these that match. If it's a match, that means that, hey, you recorded a deposit at some point in time for this amount of money. Okay, hey, it matches. If that's the right one, boom, we're done. We click match and it'll add it. So you can just click there. I'm just going to click all of these matches. And because they were recorded before, it automatically matches it to the feed. And we can just go through and clean them up. So we had 25 transactions. You can select this and accept them, but we're kind of do it the slower way a little bit. So we're going to match that. Just clean these up here. Knowing that they're right, there's only one record. Sometimes there'll be multiple records and you can just look at it. Okay. So right here, squeaky clean car wash. We got 2 records found for this one transaction. We've got a debit for $19.99 and a cash expense on 12/10. If you look at the dates, I think it's this check debit, not cash expense, right? Because we use the debit card on it. So I'm going to match that. Okay. So now all we've got left out of those 25 transactions, we've got 9 transactions left. Okay. So we're going to we'll start at the top. Books by Bessie. This must be a customer. So we're going to just call this sales. Let's see here. Sale of product income. Perfect. So now we'll hit add, and it adds it to our transactions. So it's really, really simple. I don't know why some of these ones are in here, but when you go to create somebody, it'll ask if that's a new vendor or if it's a customer. We've got quite a bit more expenses at a rental than we have income. So this is probably a vendor. You want to save it that way. You can't change it once they're created. You've got to just then create a new one and get rid of the old one. So you can go and add all the details you want to this guy, adding, the company name, contact information, account number, all that stuff. Do you need to track 1099s for this guy? Which, if you pay anybody over $600 in a year, that's not a corporation, you need to give them a 1099. Okay, so all this contact information is great for building your list. Okay, so we're going to just save this guy because it doesn't really matter. And we're just going to, we don't want, it's not a fee, it's an expense. There we go. So we're going to say that was we're going to call this a rental place. So we're going to say this is storage rental. Oh, rental backhoe deposit refund. There we go. So it's a refund. I'm not going to bother changing. I don't want to get caught up in all that. So you go through that, just keep adding those accounts. And I do want to clean this up so that we can reconcile in a little bit. Okay, and then you go through savings, same thing. Hey, we've got this deposit. Hey, our MasterCard, we've got these transactions. Let's match them up. Squeaky Clean Car Wash again, 1224. This is 1231. We want to connect that to the 1231 experience there. And this one now is matched. And I'm just adding these so we don't waste time on it. So now we can see we've got these green check marks. Every transaction that has come through the bank feed is now showing up in our reports, in our system. They match. Everything's there. These don't match, but everything that the banks have recorded is now recorded. You may have written some checks or things that don't quite, that haven't hit the bank account yet. So that's kind of the banking. That's how you add a bank, and that's how you get those transactions in. So again, you'll come up here, click link account, and then you'll log into your bank's online portal. Most banks are there. Very rarely do I find one that is not there. And we are going to, so we're going to move here to creating expenses, okay? So we'll actually just pull up the expenses right now. And this shows all of our expenses for the last month. So you can see everything that you've done, how you categorized it. If you didn't categorize it, you can view and edit these things, okay? So the other way to do that, well, we'll talk about vendors. So these are all of your expenses, and here are all of your vendors. And this is a great overview because it shows every vendor that you work with that you've saved, and you can, the easiest way is to search them, right? So we can click on a rental, and it should show all of those transactions that we just did. Books by Bessie. So here we go, Books by Bessie. That one's got some stuff. We've got every transaction with Books by Bessie. You can see the total amount of money that we've spent there. You can edit it, you can export it. And in fact, I use this report with another client that I have who was getting overbilled by one of his suppliers. We were able to just pull this out and show that supplier that he was overcharging by a lot. So that vendor section is really, really helpful. Shows you how many bills you've got that you haven't, that are overdue, how many that are open that are going to be due soon, and what you've paid. Great for keeping up on where your business is at and what your cash flow coming out is going to be. What do you do if your credit union is not listed? Credit unions are rough. I guess I'm answering it live. Okay, so if the credit union is not listed, then you have to then just kind of do it manually, and you won't have that bank feed. You'll still add them at the chart of accounts like I did at the beginning, but you're not going to be able to link it. The credit union might have a different name though too, from what you're thinking to look under. So if you ask the bank, they should be able to tell you whether they connect with QuickBooks. So, and most credit unions do too. I haven't found very many that don't. So keep looking, and then if not, you could just do it manually. I mean, you'll have to do all of this manually and reconcile every month manually, like when we used to use checks all the time and had to reconcile those with the statement. That might be what you do, or you get a different bank account for your business. Okay, so you can go here and the plus new button, and you can add an expense, a check, or a bill, purchase orders, vendor credits, these things. I want to really quick talk about the difference here. An expense is something that happens right now. It's I went to the hardware store and I bought a hammer. I went to the office supply store and I bought paper. I paid for membership to something. That's an expense. It's happening right now, changing hands with the product or service. A check is something that you're writing a check for. It is very literally only for checks. You have a bill and you're writing a check to it. Okay. Or an expense, but you wrote a check, you want it to be, you know that it's going to show up later and you want to record it as a check because again, your bank statements show those things separately. A bill is a bill to you. Again, it's nice adding that plus because it shows it's all under vendors. This is all people trying to come after you for money. So a bill that could be utility bill, that could be bills from your suppliers. And the more of those that you get recorded in your software, you don't have to record any of them, but if you get it recorded, it tracks it for you. It shows you where you're at, and you don't forget them as easy. It's just easier. And QuickBooks will even make payments for you to certain people. You can set it up to do the payments, but it just recording those bills, then when you pay it, it'll match it together. It knows what that payment's for. It makes your life way easier. It makes your bookkeeper's life easier. That's what record your bills as they come in. Do it once a week, whatever. Paying bills is specifically to pay bills. It's not used for anything else. These are the 4 main ones that you will probably use. And we'll talk about as we get into the customer side, they're opposites and the other part of that you do. So we'll create an expense here real quick just so you can kind of see that process. Creating this expense, we're going to pay, Books by Bessie again. We like her. What account are we going to pay it with? We're going to pay it with the MasterCard. It shows us the balance on that card. What is the date that this happened? I paid with a Visa card. If there's a reference number, you can put that in there. I don't have a lot of use for that, but it is what it is. Okay, then you've got your categories. It shows up here the $55 total amount, but we're going to go through and categorize this. We've got uncategorized expense. I don't like those. We're just going to call that a supply. She gives us paper. It's the best deal in town. So reams of paper. If it's something big, it's just really nice to add that. Here's what's causing this, so that when you look at this expense in 3 months, you'll know what it is. the amount that you were charged. If it's billable to a customer, you can put that in here, but then it shows you the totals. Okay, and it auto fills from the last time we did Bessie. You know, it already had $55 before I put anything in. Okay, you can add as many lines as you want. You can add a memo. I strongly suggest that you attach the picture of the receipt to all of your expenses. If you get audited, credit card statements don't stand up. Those things are just, they don't stand up. It's just really easy. You add it here, it's there. If you ever get audited, you've got access to that. Let's say you create an expense, and then we just save and close, and it's done. Okay. Next thing we'll talk about is sales. I don't see any other questions. So we're going to move on to sales. This overview, really nice once you get kind of down here and you kind of get rid of these things, is it shows you, hey, how much have you sold? How many invoices do you have outstanding? And how much has people paid in the last 30 days? Great information. Just to know where you're at. How much money are you waiting on? Where none of us keep the lights on without money coming in. Okay. All sales, this shows, just like the expenses, it shows every single sale that you have, what the date on it, due date was on it, what the date it happened was, what was it? Was it an invoice? Or was it just a straight payment? What was the invoice number? Makes it very easy to find things, and you can receive payment there. Okay. Up here, you can see again, how much activity have you done? You've recorded the bill, but not actually, you've recorded the charges, but haven't actually billed them for it. Invoices that are overdue, you know, you did work for people and this is what you're waiting on. And a new business or a small business, this can be brutal on your cash flow, having this much out to be sold, to be paid. I mean, if you look, we've been paid $3,000 in the last 30 days, but we've got $6,000, $6,500 that we're still waiting on. This is a business in trouble. And you can see that real quick. Invoices will just show your invoices and where they're at. When somebody pays you, if you have an invoice to somebody and they pay you, you absolutely want to record it here, receiving payment, or I'll show you the other spot where you receive payment. You do not want to record it as a sale because you have an invoice. You'll be doubling up and it'll mess up your income. It'll show twice as much money as you actually earned. And then when you meet your accountant and he says you made $4,000, well, add these up, you made $10,000, and well, then where is it? Well, you know, half of it's not here. You double counted it. You can also see your customers. This is kind of a cool thing too, being able to click on a company and seeing all of their business with you, and you start to realize who's of most value and maybe who you're having to do a lot of returns with. And that's really, really useful information. Here's your products and services. We're not going to go in depth on this, but this is where you create your products and services. If you are a services company, it's a lot easier than if you're dealing with inventory. Inventory is its own kind of thing, so we're not really going to get into that here. But you just come over here and you create new and service. What do you call it? Don't worry about these things if it's a service. What is it? And what do you want to charge for it? So that's kind of how you create those. And man, we are running out of time. So we're gonna show creating the different sales things. So I'm gonna hit plus the new button here. And if you're watching this later, this is gonna be recorded, right? These things change. So the next time you get in, this could be in a totally different space. It used to be up here and they changed it and didn't tell anybody. And I couldn't figure out how to add new stuff for like a day. It was very frustrating. So over here, we've got our customers. We got an invoice. This is just like a bill. I'm creating it. They're going to pay me later. It's not an immediate exchange of goods and services. This is the kid who comes and mows my lawn, or I go and mow his lawn, and I mow for a month, and then I send one invoice at the end of the month for all of those mowing. They didn't happen at the same time. Receiving payment only applies to invoices. You do not receive payment just in general. That is attached to an invoice. Okay. Creating an estimate, you can do that and turn that into an invoice. Credit memo. Okay, so your sales receipt. This is the big one. Sales receipt is when you're selling something and you're changing hands right now. If you're a carpet cleaner, and if people pay right there when you finish, that would be a sales receipt. If you bill them later, that would be an invoice. Okay, so bills are to us, invoices are what we send our customers. Okay, so bills come to us, invoices go to the customers. So that is our sales section. And I can't emphasize this enough. It messes up so many people's books. Receiving payment applies to invoices. Paying bills applies to bills. Expenses and sales receipts happen right now. They are immediate change of hands. You're probably tired of hearing it, but a lot of times when I get into books, the problems with them come down to those things. Okay, so we did that. Okay, how much time we got? Okay, so the next really important thing to do is to reconcile your books every month. Okay, you've got to do it every month. If you do, it will help protect you from fraud. It will help protect you from getting too far ahead. It will help make sure that you don't miss sales or expenses. It just makes sure that everything is good. It's not most people's, I enjoy it, but a lot of people don't do it. Treat yourself to donuts or whatever you got to do to make this happen, but do it every month, please. Okay, so when you click on accounting and reconcile, this takes you to your bank account. There's all kinds of help videos here. You can click on whatever bank account or credit card account that you want. What is the beginning balance? What is the ending balance on your account? And this is going to be all wrong, right? Because I don't have an actual statement, but we're going to say we ended with $2,500. The statement ending date was 12/31/20. Okay, and we start reconciling. Now this is great because you've got your statement ending balance, your clear minus your cleared balance. Okay, and that just kind of shows you some of the things. Here's our beginning balance. Here's our outflows. Here's our inflows, and we should end here, right? At the statement ending balance. This minus this plus this should give us our ending balance. And depending on how your bank sets it up, you can go, hey, I want to just look at my payments. I've got 15 payments at $5,000. Go through and check, hey, are these on there for that time period? I really don't want this one or this one in this one because those happened in November, for instance. But you can go through and so we got a $13.84 difference. Sorry, I'm trying to watch the chat too. So that it shows us our difference as we go through. A couple things I look for when I'm reconciling. Does the number of payments out of the account equal what the bank counted? Because they have a little list there that says, hey, there was 45 outflows, checks and expenses. And then do my deposits match? And so you can go by deposits too. It just makes it a lot easier to go through this quickly. And if you're recording stuff as it happens, this is so fast and it's just great. It's great. It goes really quickly and easily. When those match, and they're not going to match because I didn't know the number. This will say, hey, it's great. It's great and everything. You can change that if you mess up. A lot of times, if they don't match up and you've got everything marked, probably your ending balance is wrong. you typed it in wrong, you put a number in the wrong place. But you'll just complete it, and it shows you, get rid of these things too. You'll complete it and it shows you exactly where you're at. Okay. And then you'll know that your books are correct. And if you do it every month, you'll be relatively up to date on where your business is on a month-to-month basis. You'll know that your income and expenses are right. Okay. So that is reconciling your statements, and it's the exact same process. It's the exact same process for your credit cards right here. You know, what's the beginning balance, ending balance, finance charges, any things like that you've got. Same process. It's very, very simple. Like I said, a lot of people don't like it, but please do it. Okay, the last thing that I want to show you before I run out of time here is if you come to your reports, this is where you can get just a ton of information about your business. This is where you're going to find your profit and loss, your balance sheet. This is where you're going to be able to find your accounts receivable summaries. Who owes you and how long has it been? Who has balances with you and who doesn't? Unbilled charges, open invoices, sales. Hey, where am I at by customer? What's my income by customer? There's a tremendous amount of information here that is just very great that you can kind of wander through and gives you a good pulse on your business. You can run a business out of a spreadsheet if it's really small, but your ability to scale that and your ability to work with it is very limited. Last thing I want to show you really quickly is the balance sheet. And I only want to show it to you because we talked about the chart of accounts. This is where your chart of accounts shows up. And if you had account numbers, it's all in alphabetical order. And if you have accounts, let's see here, where's some, got some fixed assets, got like the truck, it's set up to not show anything with zero balances. But by putting numbers on here, you could change your undeposited funds to go ahead of your inventory asset if you wanted to. That's what the account numbers do. Trying to think if there's anything else crazy here, but it does organize it by current account, assets, bank accounts. That's why those things, even if you don't think about cash as a bank account, it goes with the bank accounts. That's why it's organized that way. So that's a really brief overview on how to do some very basic stuff in QuickBooks. I recommend for new people, get a professional to get them set up for you. Plenty of accountants will do it. Plenty of bookkeepers will do it, just to get up and get going the right way, or at least talk with one before you get it set up. Make sure that you're set up using the right tax form. Again, you'll want to talk with your accountant on that, and just make sure that's right. You can totally form an entity using LegalZoom. I still recommend you need to know a lawyer eventually, so you might as well get to know one soon. And you're going to need an accountant, so you might as well get to know one and make sure these things are right. It's a learning curve. You may have to adjust stuff, but ultimately everything is fixable. So don't worry too much. You just recognize that the more mistakes cost money to fix. So I thank you for your time. Again, Cory Morris with Morris Better Bookkeeping. If you have any other questions, or if there's things I brought up that weren't clear, you can for sure reach out to me. My contact is in the chat, and I hope it was useful. I'll hang out here for a few minutes. We've got another 15 minutes if people have questions. We don't have to use the whole time, but if you have questions, let me know. If there's something that you want me to hit again real quick, put it in there. Got people dropping off, so that tells me not a lot of questions. I hope, I assume that Due Space will be sending out a questionnaire. Please let us know how it was. Looks like we've pretty much lost everybody. You guys have a great night, And thank you again for joining us.